truth seekers, welcome back. Zach here. It's January 6th, 2017. The top news headline this morning on the West Coast, early afternoon East Coast, is the false flag shooting at the airport in Fort Lauderdale. No doubt, this is another government-sponsored propaganda event. Throughout this nation's history, what a lot of people are unaware of is our government, our media, and our first responders, including police, have conspired to put on drills, staging tragedies, and then reporting them as real tragedies. Today, January 6th, 2017, this exact type of event has happened in Fort Lauderdale. Let's begin by watching CNN's news coverage. Wolf Blitzer interviews the mayor of the town. Just listen to the mayor. You can just tell in her voice and the way she's speaking, there's nothing going on here. This is a drill. This is a hoax. This is ongoing propaganda for an agenda to further militarize police, to keep the American public in fear and submission, looking to Big Brother for a hero, for a solution. We live in a military police state, and it grows more and more with time. Look how in the post 9/11 agenda, there have been all of these false flags, a lot of them saying Islamic extremist, and that might end up being the narrative here later today. And in the time of all of this false fear, what have we seen? We've seen needless wars. We've seen our police turn pretty much into military troopers on the streets. We see armored police vehicles. All of this news, it's all part of the agenda, normalizing us to this wrongdoing. We're being told that there's more and more threats out there, so there needs to be more and more security. And this is how they do it, by hoaxing us. So let's just watch this interview, and then we'll decode this story. 100% certain this is false flag propaganda by the numbers.
Mayor, what can you tell us about what happened?
So basically, at this point in time, we have an active crime scene investigation.
And real quick, just so people understand, when they do these drills, it completely inconveniences people. It shuts down the airport, the freeway, whatever. Tons of people get inconvenienced. The people there, they're feeling the brunt of it. But the rest of the nation, they get this false fear. Again, the media just creating needless fear. Our government creating needless fear because it's all about control. And when you have fear in people, they're easier to control. Dear government, please save me. Keep me safe from the boogeyman. So yeah, this is the result of what they've done.
In Terminal 2, it appears that it was involving a shooter, a lone shooter. Airport Sheriff's Office does have him in custody at this time. We are currently experiencing some backup in terms of our passengers.
Mayor Sharif.
You just hear it. It's just monotone. There's no sadness. She's reporting what she's been told. No expression of sympathy. And she just goes right into the next sentence. Our passengers are delayed, like the flight delays are probably the biggest concern here, which they are, because it's the only real tragedy that's happened. All these people are now delayed, having to wait who knows how many hours to catch their flight. Some people got to be places. All of these people are the victims here of this drill. And the thing to understand is the entities doing this to us, they are the people that we pay for with our tax dollars. The United States, a nation of working slaves, paying a third of their wealth and more away to the government. And what does the government do? Makes war, makes fear, controls, poisons the food, and a million other things. And everything I just said is 100% true. Fact-delicious. Let's continue.
Is it over as far as you know? You say it's an active investigation. Clearly, the investigation is only just beginning right now. But as far as you know, this one shooter who's now in custody, was he the sole shooter? And presumably everything is at least calm right now?
Yes, at this point in time, that's correct. He was a lone shooter. And we have no evidence at this time that he was acting with anyone else. He is in custody, and we are currently investigating others.
And he himself, when he was taken into custody, he was not shot himself or anything like that. He's in good shape. Is that right?
I can't report on that at this time because I'm not aware of that.
And do we know is there any initial indication of why this shooter may have done this?
At this time, we do not have a motive, but we are actively investigating that.
So, no motive, lone gunman at an airport. How many times have we seen this before? The other year it was at LAX, and they literally showed on the news the paramedics wheeling out a plastic dummy, and the news was giving that dummy a name and saying that was a person. If you're not privy to this information, that LAX shooting happened in 2013. So it's been out there since 2013 for all to see, the plastic dummy being wheeled across, the runway. The news saying, oh, here's this victim shot, critical condition. It's just, you're wheeling out a plastic dummy. This is the problem with what they've done to us. They can put anything before our eyes on the television, and they can say whatever, and it's just people nod their head and accept it. The story you're being told never adds up. The facts aren't there. But people just go along with it. And this is all part of the conditioning. When this story first broke, they said at least 9 people injured. And right away, I knew before long, they'd be saying people were killed. This is the same protocol every time. The media breaks the story. They talk about shooting, tragedy, mass injuries, and then later it jumps to a certain number dead, then usually gets to a bigger number, then normally comes back down. Well, we'll see where they go with this one. Right now, they're just saying multiple people killed. So anyway, here's what you should know. Many of you already know. I've been working on a book. One of the chapters in the book is all of the false flag shootings in this country going back to 1984. If you can make this out down here, this document's 124 pages. This document is current all the way up to the Orlando shooting. And then all the shootings that have happened since, I haven't added it to this document. But I have a bunch of chapter drafts for things that we've been lied to. And one of those things is mass shootings. I'm writing this book exposing how our media and government manufactures news, lies to us by the numbers. In this chapter draft, there are hundreds of examples of false flag shootings in the news. Almost every single one, and I mean 95+% of them, have the number 44 coded front and center. So many shootings over the course of history on a date with 44 numerology, a shooter with a 44 name. Today they haven't given us the name of the shooter, but today's date fits the pattern. It's a date with numerology connecting to the gematria of the word shooting. So today's date, January 6th, 2017. 1 + 6 + 20 + 17 is 44. And this number, very relevant to shootings and killing. The word kill is 44. The word shooting, 44. The word military, 44. Look at what day NATO was established. The international military force on April 4th. Military, 44. Trooper, 44. Officer, 44. I should mention the word sheriff's, 44. The word execution, 44. This number always showing up around killing, especially these staged false flag shootings. If you've watched my How to Gematria video, which I put in the description of almost every video, there's something called the S exception. You can make S worth 1 or 10. In the calculator, S is worth 1. If you make it worth 10, shooting equals 53. Another relevant number that's coded again and again in false flag shootings, because it connects to the word shooting, 53. January 6th, today's date in gematria sums to 53. Just a little side note. When they first broke the news, they said at least 9 people injured, shooter in custody. And then we heard Wolf Blitzer in the news saying that the shooter's unharmed, he was arrested. Just imagine how that scenario would come to be. Well, maybe he ran out of bullets. They could make up any story. Anyhow, the reason they chose the number 9 is because 9 is a special number. To Pythagoras, who's said to be one of the original Freemasons of this world, Pythagoras thought 9 was the number that represented God, completeness. 9 is the glue in numerology. Go back and watch my older videos on 9. There's so many special things about 9. So anyway, when you write out 9 as a word, it sums to 42, just like the word Freemason. And the Freemason symbol is the compass and square with the big G in the middle. Big G represents 42. The word guns, 42. The word wars, 42. When you do English reduction, World War is 42. But that's what we live in. We live in a war empire, and it's a constant war for all of our minds, to control our mind's eye, to scare us, to make us submit to the government and its tyranny, and follow along with their lies and believe all the crap that they feed you every day. You know, they try to convince the world that one of the most peaceful religions is full of these terrorists. It's not true. They try to make it seem like there's a boogeyman on every corner. That's why children, you know, most parents aren't even willing to let their children go play out in front of the house. Not even at the park, just around the corner. I grew up in an area, well, the first home I lived in didn't have the nice thing, but when I was 7, I moved to a nicer neighborhood. Not a great place, but it had a park nearby. And anyway, the point is, I was 7 years old. I turned 7 in 1990. Back then, there used to be children that played in this park all the time. That park has been vacant for over a decade, you know? You don't see children outside anymore. It's because of all this fear. You know, giving us more and more fear. They give us something like an Amber Alert and people think it's to help us be more safe. No, it's not. It's just to spread more fear. You know? Up here in Seattle, where I live, along Interstate 5, which runs from Mexico to Canada through the West Coast, you know, we got these electronic billboards over our freeway, probably like you do in your city, if you live in big cities. And we'll get Amber Alerts up there sometimes for things going on in Oregon, things going on in California. And you know what it does? It causes a traffic jam. Why do people need to know about this thing that just broke out 1,000 miles, 1,500 miles down the road? Just spreading fear. So anyway, with regards to 42, this number of the Freemasons, this is a very special number, by the way. Words like history equal 42, knowledge 42, economics, building, architect. The Freemasons pride themselves on being the keepers of knowledge, the invisible architects. They are builders. So many words that are relevant to Freemasonry. They say the victors write the history book. In this world, the victors are the Freemasons. History 42, Freemason 42, his story. When you write out 42, it also sums to 142, just like Fort Lauderdale, where this happened, where they began with the at least 9 injured. Then they updated the story. Oh yeah, when I first decoded, they didn't even have a story. And then soon it became the front page story, and they stayed with at least 9 injured. Today, January 6th, is also Three Kings Day, which is related to Christmas. Celebrated in Mexico, Latin America, Spanish cultures. I just noticed the headline had the same gematria as Jesus Christ, and oftentimes when they stage these false flags, they often do them in accordance with spiritual days on multiple calendars throughout the world, from the Gregorian calendar, which we're on, to the Jewish calendar. So it's very possible that today's shooting to this sick gang of Freemasons that run things, it's possible it's a tribute to Three Kings Day. There's some other interesting things here. The gematria of the airport connecting to Zionism. Of course, it is the Zionist Jews who control our media, our government. It is gematria, what we're talking about. The practice of coding numbers into words is mostly a Jewish practice. Most people think it only applies to Hebrew. But our English language, no doubt, built on this same numerical system. So anyhow, it went from 9 wounded. That was the original story. Oh yeah, and when they were reporting 9 wounded, they were saying that Ari Fleischer, who used to work in the White House, for the Bush administration, the second Bush, Bush Jr., Shrub, George W. George W. Bush equals 58, like Freemasonry, like secret society. He became president 33 years after graduating from Yale's Skull and Bones in 1968. He was the president for September 11th, 2001. 1968, his graduation year, 33 years before 2001. 33, the super important number in Freemasonry. False flag equals 33. From 1968 to 2001, 33 years, 68 is the year that 911 was made the national emergency dialing code, and the year World Trade Center construction began. There's a connection between 911 and 33. 911, 911, is the 156th prime number. That means the only numbers that divide into it are itself and 1. So the only thing you can divide 911 by is itself and 1. 911 is the 156th prime number. When you write out 33 as a word, it sums to 156. We're living out a planned agenda, people. The news is written, scripted long in advance. This police department that's responding to this incident today, no doubt people in that department knew that this drill hoax would be going down. They're the people that are prepped and ready to speak to the media about the lies. We're living out a planned Freemasonic agenda, government, media, police. That's what you need to understand. Anyway, Ari Fleischer, supposedly there to see the chaos. Ari Fleischer equals 113, the number that they quote again and again in their agents of propaganda, their hoaxes like today. Ari Fleischer, the witness, getting it out on Twitter. This is what they love to do now in the internet age. They love to break the news through Twitter. Ari Fleischer, 113, mainstream 113, perverted, dishonest. Look at his birthday, October 13th, 10/13, 1013, a lot like 113. Remember, Ari Fleischer's Jewish, like pretty much everyone else who runs your government and your media and your banking. In the Talmud, Baba Kama 113a says it's okay for somebody who's Jewish to circumvent a Gentile who's somebody who's not Jewish with lies. Dishonest, 113, mainstream. Who's running this? Who created our language? English equals 74, Gematria equals 74, Jewish equals 74, Masonic 74, Holiday 74, Independence Day 74, 7/4 here in the U.S., our Independence Day, a holiday. The United States of America, the English language, they rolled out at about the exact same time. This is all part of a planned agenda. Go to the Americas, create a genocide of the native people, colonize, conquer the people, create a new race, create a new nation, new history for an agenda. Next thing you know, there's world wars, a false Jewish state, the Zionist Jewish state of Israel, planned before World War I. Why they don't teach World War I history in the U.S., because it has everything to do with establishing Israel. They need to give you that boogeyman, Adolf Hitler. Who paid for him? You never seen my videos on Hitler and Abraham Lincoln and how they both disappeared by the same numbers at the end of wars they're blamed for? Better check that out. So anyway, here's Ari Fleischer, the Jewish guy, the witness from the very Jewish New York. Here he is. Look at his parents were Jewish. His mother is a Hungarian immigrant who lost much of her family in the Holocaust. Holocaust equals 33. Using the alphabetic order, Holocaust is 114, like World War, like Pearl Harbor. There's a reason they chose that word. That word Holocaust means burnt animal sacrifice to the gods. So they said that the action took place in Terminal 2. And 2, important number in numerology, represents division. This story will be used to divide. You know, they'll be giving you some boogeyman, some person to hate on. So Terminal 2, here's what's interesting about Terminal 2. It has the same gematria as 51, as conspiracy, as mass shooting. Think about in the U.S., what do they call the big conspiracy area in New Mexico? Area 51, Conspiracy 51. Terminal 2, mass shooting. Freemason with the S exception 51. The Bavarian Illuminati was established on May 1st, 1776, just before the American Revolution. 2 months and a day. You know, we declared our independence on July 2nd, 1776. The man who established the Bavarian Illuminati, his name equals 51 in gematria. It was established with 13 families on a date with 99 numerology. When you write out 13, it sums to 99. Anyway, 51, important number to Freemasonry. The Bavarian Illuminati is Freemasonry. Look at the gematria of 2. 2 equals 58, like Freemasonry, like secret society, like Annuit Coeptus. 2 used again and again in their divisive propaganda. Think about the 2 towers on September 11th. We also see this a lot when they do the airport shootings. They always emphasize the terminal where it happened. Possible coincidence here, but terminal has gematria of 38, like killing and death. Lots of false flag shootings at airports, bombings and more. Think about the airplanes on September 11th. The airport's very much involved. So 38, also a special number down in Florida. Very Jewish state, Florida. Ari Fleischer there to tell you about it. Zionist propaganda. The witness they have here is Gene Messina on a Delta flight. They had Delta in the cover photo, Delta Airlines. Delta sums to 42, where we began. And look at the name gematria of the witness. 666, the number of the beast. The Bible verse in Revelation says, here is wisdom. Talks about calculating the number of the beast, which is 666. This is how they code their propaganda again and again. We see these numbers so often. The initials G, G's the 7th letter, M's the 13th. 713. M, 13. 13 in numerology breaks down to 4. 1 plus 3 is 4, so the initials become 74, like 74. Masonic 74, Jewish 74, occult 74. Gematria, English, Jesus, cross, Messiah, gospel. Killing is 74. Again, today, holiday, having to do with Christianity. Three Kings Day. The three wise men, the birth of Jesus, that story. So here's what the headlines updated to. Multiple people killed, showing the people out, having to evacuate the airport and get in lines as if they're elementary school students and somebody just pulled the fire bell, So they haven't put out the name of the gunman. I'm sure it will come. There it is, Truth Seeker. Another false flag by the same numbers we always see. Look at how they just write the headline, all caps, like they got to get your attention. For those of you who think this news is real, anyone who thinks this news is real who's watched this far, ask yourself, why does the media always giving you scare stories? Negativity. And if your answer is, well, because people are attracted to that and that sells advertisements, well, why are you supporting that? Do you want to know every day about all that went wrong in the world? Is that helping you somehow? You see, none of this news is helping us. The news could report on positive things. It could help turn around society instead of giving people negative things to think about. And that's what happens when you put things in people's heads. It makes them go out and emulate it. I think part of the reason they do this to us is because they want normal citizens to go out and do it themselves. This is their way they can get on TV. This is the way they can finally get their recognition, get off their steam. So there it is, Truth Seeker. Until next time.